the following is now example 2 of if you're provided with the parent function of the square root and given some instructions on the transformation, how do you sketch that function? So let's do example 2. So here, once again, you're told you have f of x is equal to the square root of x, and you're transforming to some function g of x. You're not told what it is, but you're told the following transformations. So now you're told there's a reflection across the y-axis. This is part of the question, just to let you know. And then there's a stretch in the x direction by 2, okay? And then you're told there's a stretch in the y direction by 3, and then you're told to translate it -4 and 2. All right, so you're told f goes through these transformations and to end up with g. So again, question A is write an expression for g of x. So let's see how that's done. So g of x is equal to, and okay, let me just scroll up just a bit. Okay, so it's equal to something of f. Now, there's a reflection across the y-axis, so that's going to affect the x values. So there's going to be a negative on the inside. Now, there's a stretch in the x direction by 2, which means that if it's a stretch in the x direction by 2, when it gets to the f, we have to put the reciprocal, so it's simply 1/2. And there's a stretch in the y direction by 3, so that's going to be outside the f, so that's going to be a 3 right there. Translate 4 to the left. So if we translate 4 to the left, it's going to be x plus 4, because it's 4 to the left. And remember, it has to be factored inside the f. And then finally, it's 2 up, so it's going to be plus 2. So remember, this is just halfway. We've just expressed g in terms of f, but this is not what we want. We want an expression, basically, because we know what f is. We know that f is a square root function. So we want g to also be expressed as a square root function. So remember, like I said before, since this is the simplest parent function, anything that's in this f over here will be replaced by that x over there. So all of this inside of this f, right, will replace that x, and therefore replace this x over here. So if I had to rewrite this, now in terms of the square root function, it's going to be 3, and I'm going to put this in yellow. It's going to be a square root. Well, what's going to be inside that square root? It's going to be -1/2 x plus 4, and then it's going to be plus 2. And that's the equation for g of x. All right? And then, now the second part, which I think is actually the relatively easier part, because we already have the transformations given to us in writing. So part B is sketch g of x, right? So what you can do is, this is how I like to do it. As always, I just use, just draw a set of axes first, and we'll do it step by step. And so anyways, our first graph is this. So this is our square root of x, because it's our parent function, and we know it's the simplest function with which we start with. So let's go through the transformations one at a time. So there's a reflection across the y-axis. So if there's a reflection across the y-axis, it must mean that it goes this way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase the original one so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so there we go. And we took care of that. Now, there's a stretch in the x direction by 2. So if there's a stretch in the x direction, what it means is that, I'm going to put this in yellow, is that it stretches out even further. Right? It stretches out even further. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase the blue just so we can see the transformation step by step. Okay. So I've taken care of that. Okay. And then there's a stretch in the y direction by a factor of 3. So I'm going to take this, and so it's going to stretch in the y. Oops, let me draw that again. So It's going to stretch. And the y, so that's going to stretch by a factor of 3. And then I'm going to erase the old one. I'm going to erase the old one right there. And let me just draw that one more time. Just draw that one more time. Okay, and so I've taken care of that one. And then finally, translate to the left 4 and down 2. So I'm just going to do this in one step. So if it's to the left 4, okay, if it's to the left 4, and, oh, sorry, was it down 2 or up 2? Oh, it was up 2. My mistake. So it was up 2. So there we go. And really, it's just going to sort of go in this direction. Okay, and then I'm just now going to erase the old blue. The old blue. And I'm just going to just connect that back. And there we go. So this point here is -4, +2. Right? And that's your starting point. And there you go. Now you've already sketched g of x. And now you know how to do it when you're provided a series of instructions. And you can determine two things: a proper expression for the transform function, and also you also know how to sketch it based on the written transformations. All right, I'll see you in the next video.